welcome to the Needle Point podcast, a podcast all about tattoo culture and industry. And today we're going to be talking about mental health and tattooing. And to talk with me about this topic, I have the awesome Robbie Ripoll that some of you might know already, but in case some of you don't, please introduce yourself, Robbie.
Hey there, I'm Robbie Ripoll. I was on, it was Spike TV at the time. Now it's Paramount Network, Ink Master. I've been on quite a few Ink Mag videos, so you guys may have seen me from that stuff. But I've been tattooing most of my life, and I also specialize in motivational speaking and life coaching, as well as being a tattooer.
Wow, man, it's like you very much like you want to make it better. Like we already talked a bit before this interview, like you want to improve, you want to leave this industry better than you found it.
Absolutely, man. You know, I mean, that's really a very simple way of saying, you know, it's better to leave things better than you found them, you know, you know, I saw a lot of holes that needed to be filled in the tattoo world, you know, as a kid growing up in it, you know, like guys getting their hands fucking broken for opening a shop in the wrong part of town, you know, having fucking, you know, fire bombs thrown through their fucking windows, you know, like, so I believe it should be, there's room for all of us to breathe, stretch, grow, blossom, you know, live and, you know, do awesome shit while making tons of money doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's a great place, and it's yeah, I'm all about bringing it together.
Yeah, because that's what has struck me researching tattoos as a sociologist throughout my academic career and stuff like that. Just a little bit. Don't have many publications, so don't go looking for that. Anybody listening, but that there's been an exponential like growth in how many people around the planet get tattooed. Like it should be enough for everybody to make a somewhat decent living if you're good at like if you're just a little bit good at tattooing. Yet the old school rivalry that was there way back in the day, you hear all the old timers talking about, that's still there for some people. And you even have some people weirdly wanting to go back to those days, where I'm always baffled by that, because I'm like, but there's so many people, like if you specialize in any specific style, you can definitely get your own crowd that are going to come there and like want your specific tattooing. There's no reason to be like, oh, I hate fucking Kyle down there, like fuck his shop. Like, why? Look,
right, and you know, you've got a convention poster behind you, you know.
Yeah.
I do a lot of tattoo conventions. If I had that mindset, how the fuck would I go to work? You know what I'm saying? Like a tattoo convention is an open air market for tattoos. You know, like we were just in Chicago and there was like 600 and something booths there. So, you know, how am I going to walk through there and be like, fuck these guys?
There's a lot of hate to spread, man. There's a lot of hate to spread.
And it's dude, you know, isn't it scientifically proven that it's harder to frown than it is to smile? Like it takes more muscles, you know, like, so dude, it's just easier to make a nice way with life rather than, you know, the fuck you, you know, this is my wave, don't surf it. You know, this is my beach, you can't come here, you know, locals only type shit. It just doesn't make sense, you know.
It's also like, especially, I mean, it might be weird for somebody, but I think it connects really well with it, especially in this crisis time. It's such a dumb time to be like, fuck, let's hate these guys, or let's fuck these guys over. Like, this is the main time where we should like maybe reevaluate the tattoo culture and industry and like be like, maybe we should leave space for like mental health and supporting each other, because some people are amazingly good at that. Like you see some like tattoo families around the world that are like, they support each other. They're always like trying to hold out a hand for each other and help each other if shit goes down, or support each other even when there's no negative development, just like, you know, lifting each other up and that. But you also see the opposite a lot, where people are like, fuck man, I was on this spot, fuck off, or worse, as I think, and which I think you have a personal vendetta against in a good way, I would say. There are people that are like, fuck you, you don't get sick being a tattoo artist, there's no stress, fuck you if you can't handle it, fuck off. Like the people that like ignore the mental issues that can come with working in a both competitive and creative field.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not easy, it's not easy to, you know, stay motivated and positive and creative in that space, because, you know, as an artist, you're always looking at your own work, judging it, you know, And then as a business person, like just trying to connect the pieces to the puzzle and turn your art into a purchasable product that you can justify spending money on. It's a hard battle in here.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Because as an artist, you don't want to just, you don't want to bend the knee and just go be like, all right, I'm just gonna do this because this is popular right now. You want to make what you do popular, but that might not sell as much. And that's a constant, I would imagine, self-esteem battle within your own head, especially if you're new in the industry, I can imagine. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. It is a big thing. And, and as far as it goes, finding the way to make yourself stand out, like I'm a new school artist typically, but I pull from graffiti, I pull from realism, I pull from cartoons, I pull from 2D artwork, I pull from pop art, I pull from all kinds of different elements of art. So at the end of the day, I'm not just one type of art. Yeah, yes, I'm new school, but it's Robbie's new school. It looks like I did that tattoo. So, nobody else can make my art because nobody else thinks like me. So, and I've learned how to make my product something that for years I was told, well, obviously I don't want a cartoony. Well, obviously, bitch, you don't know who the fuck you're talking to. So like I've gone through a lot of that, so in time I've learned how to just keep pushing, keep creating my product, keep growing and keep progressing as an artist.
like finding your crowd eventually, like, yeah.
Right. And finding my crowd, just like you said. Yeah. And but the hard part was like fighting through the sea of doubt and insecurity and, the not knowing that I'm going to make it there, and coming from that weird time of, a closed off culture of people not wanting to help each other. I wasn't being taught how positively I'm going to affect the world later on by being a tattooer. I wasn't supported in my efforts early on by the community because that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, because there was definitely, at least from what I've been able to gather from talking to old timers, both from here and the States and the UK and other countries, there was no room for thinking about tattooing as art, really, even though it was starting to be art back then. It was like, no, this is a way to make a living. We can't live normally, so we make a living through this. Stop putting roses around this, you shit.
Right. And I think that's like the human's natural way of like having imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Like we're creating art for money, but a way to fucking fancy that down and make it more palatable for us as humans is we're just being blue collar workers.
Yeah.
We're just doing something
way more than that.
Right. And it's so much more than that. And now like art is a flex in the tattoo world and rightfully so. And that's awesome.
Absolutely. With what technology can do today, with like you have so many more ink varieties and shades and all that. Like, why hold yourself back? Even just looking at some of the like black and gray stuff you see, especially coming out of South America and Spain sometime, where they like throw in these sharp, vibrant dashes of color. Like you couldn't have done that fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah, and it's like, as an artist, I think because the colors were there.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think the art brain was there yet,
I think there has been a reductionist kind of mindset in the tattoo industry previously.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, well, and I think it also kind of started from, you could only get certain tones of color, and so, I don't know why they didn't realize you could draw on skin with ballpoint pens or, like, even fucking, dipping a pen in the inkwell, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why these practices weren't put into place early on, because if you look at the Sistine Chapel and you look at, artists from well before our time on canvas or on a ceiling or a wall, for some fucking reason they had it right. Yeah. But tattooers had to draw a potato chip skull and a chick with, 2 dots for a fucking nose. You know what I'm saying? And that's the most detail they could put in. Like, yeah, I don't understand where that reductionist mindset came from either. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because it's not really a topic that's explored much,
No.
because the traditions are appreciated.
Maybe a bit too much almost, because I think that's
I feel you.
how we circle back to the whole mental health thing, because there's also a tradition of the tattoo like industry. At least now, I'm a bit of an outsider, I'm not a tattoo artist myself, but at least from what I've been able to gather, there's this tradition of being like, no, we don't have mental problems, the normies have mental problems.
Right.
We're strong, we're family, don't make us look weak, almost like that. That's almost the
Right.
mindset that's kind of in there. Whereas you have these new artists that are coming from other backgrounds, and they're like, well, I do have anxiety, or I do have the imposter syndrome, or I do.
Right.
And
Right.
the old timers, I don't think the old timers are leaving enough room for that.
No.
Like, I think that especially some of the old timers, not all of them, like there are some really good apples in between, but they're like kind of gatekeeping that, like, oh, you can't come in here with all your issues to all the youngsters. Like they don't want to recognize that that's a legit thing to be like, have anxiety because of the pressure from like performing with your art in that way, or suffering from imposter syndrome or depression when it doesn't go well and all that. Yet it seems like the younger generation of artists are way more open to that.
Absolutely, because it's like, like there's no crying and tattooing, right? But like there's a lot of fucking crying and tattooing, man. Like, artists sob into their pillows every night a lot of the time. And that's where fucking good art comes from for a lot of us. Yeah. And like over the years, I've found healthier ways to create my art. And when I went through the hospital with my broken leg and stuff, I didn't want to use art as therapy. It just wasn't a thing that I was into at the time. It just didn't work for me. Creating videos and doing stuff with the Rad Movement, that helped me a lot. And so, here I am being a tattooer that was, 20 plus year tattooing, and I'm not just hiding behind my art during a hard time. I'm more like diving into my feelings and, the true healing of things. Cause like me I tried to make a video every day. That was my productive thing in the hospital. I tried to do a Facebook Live every day on the Rad Movement. And it was hard. I didn't want to do it, right? But I did it. And it was great because I did it. And that's where I was with it. Like I was able to like start to change. Okay, I'm gonna hide behind my art and start to turn it into, let's do something. How can my experience help other people, or even just help myself? And it was cool because one of the doctors came into me in one of the rooms one time, and I was like, I'm having a bad day, and she's like, I looked up your stuff. Why don't you be your own guru? And I was like, oh shit, like, here I am, a fucking 20-something-year-old tattooer, like being told, hey, listen to your own self-help. But yeah, it was just weird. It was weird being, in the place of I've made an impact on other people around me, because I've been vulnerable, because I've been open, and because I've shared my anxieties and my insecurities and my depression and things like that. So yeah, I mean, as artists, we go through those dips and highs often. As a creator, just in this space with podcasting and video, like, man, if you're not putting out content, you're not feeling good about yourself. And if you can't think of how to do the content, or if you don't have the ideas, or, if you don't have the network, or, if you're allowing yourself to get in your own way, it's the same shit. And you just need to do it and be around others doing it and be supported in that.
Yeah, because that's the same thing for me. Like, to give a bit of behind the scenes, like I was happy Robbie contacted me originally and wanted to help me out and like, be on this podcast in some form, and we figured it out. And same Derb has reached out to me, contacted me as well. Derb Morrison, who's a great tattoo artist as well, very famous guy. And it's awesome to have guys like you that have like some level of success from where I'm standing, helping out me starting out this project and trying to like do something that's not just another, tattoo podcast interviewing guys like, so what's your style? But just instead trying to do something about the culture, because that's what I know as a sociologist. But it's the same thing for you. Like you've used, from where I'm sitting, your suffering to then improve something, to learn from it, and then pass that on so that you can help others not feel alone with it. And that's awesome.
Yeah. And, that's something that we needed, as a people, because we needed some humanity in the tattoo culture. It's not tough guys and tratty tats anymore, like
Exactly.
there's,
And I think that's better. I mean, there's so much
yeah,
diversity in the tattoo community nowadays, and it's awesome.
right. And, there's still room for everybody, I mean, even the guys that want to be cruddy, man, you want to fucking, hold this space as your sacred space and no one can come in it. There's still room for you, but just know that there's room for others too.
You just don't be a territorial dick that's like
Right.
gatekeeping, you know?
Right. And I don't run into a lot of that.
No.
Um, I I I tend to get the best version of people, or at least,
Yeah.
the more toned down version. Because on the tattoo scene, people are like, Robbie's the positive guy, and like, so people don't want to, they know I'm just gonna hit them back with something nice or whatever,
Yeah.
just dismiss their bullshit. But like I see it everywhere, and I see it a lot. And
Yeah.
it's not, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be. And it's more of a subculture than it is a tone of the whole culture.
Absolutely. I tend to agree mostly with what you're saying there, because it seems in general, at least, it's going in the right direction. But I
Absolutely.
also think that's because of people like you that have more of a longer career, who's actually standing on the side of some of the youngsters that are coming in and wanting that space and wanting that diversity. And you're standing there saying, hey, fuck all the other old timers. Let's just fucking like
Right.
open up to this. Like, because
Right. And
if nobody did that, it would just, there'll just be a closed gate in front of these youngsters, and they'll just, yeah.
right. And there's a lot of people welcoming in, like Troy Temple, the guy that throws all the Villain Arts shows. I think that's like the biggest chain of tattoo conventions in the world.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, he throws a lot of them. And he's taught me a lot about welcoming in the newer faces, because I have that cranky old guy in my brain that's like, oh fuck him, but like at the same time it's like, you remember what you were like when you needed it, like, because sometimes, dude, sometimes a little baby is going to do some little baby bullshit, and you're going to have to deal with that, and you might even have to help mold them. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that, like, you have to learn sometimes by being tough love. They needed that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not dismissing that sometimes you also need to, sometimes it's good to go there and be the old guy and say like, hey man, you can't treat, like, for example, a client like that or whatever. Like,
Right. This one kid, he was being disrespectful to one of my artists. And there's going to be a time where we sit down and I'm like, hey buddy, if you disrespect ladies, it's not going to work out for you well in this industry, because it's not a bunch of misogynistic assholes anymore. Like, you have to fucking hold yourself accountable to
at
a
least not
certain
in general, no.
Yeah, and while there is people that do all the gross things and all the gross corners of every industry, right?
Yeah.
Look, man, there's people that are also going to say you can't do that, because lady tattooers are tattooers and they're humans, and we have to respect them.
We need more of that, to be honest, because there's still a bit too much of the whole, like, misogyny, to be honest, in the industry.
Absolutely. And it's like, and it's a party atmosphere and it's a wild atmosphere, but like, people need to be put in their place, to a degree, with respect and love, and say, hey man, this is a space for all of us now. But I believe by living and leading by example, that puts a lot of people in their place too, in the essence of, hey man, you can live that way or you can live this way, and I'm going to live either way. So, and you can't tell me what to do, just like I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe you should look at it from a different perspective.
Exactly. But I think that also works out, because you are advocating so much about allowing yourself to and others to be vulnerable, and like, instead of dismissing each other about that, helping each other out. That also works in this thing, because if you're coming there and you're a hypocrite being like, oh, fuck you need to learn how to behave, and then you're like, I don't know, I don't.
Right, yeah, exactly. There's you got to learn how to, like, give tough love. You got to learn how to not overstep your boundaries. You got to learn how to give soft feminine love. You got to give all the fucking, you have to welcome someone into something as daunting as tattooing, because tattooing is
Oh,
it's a scary fucking room,
yeah,
man.
fucking hell,
You
man.
know, like, but it's cool that I've had people and still continue to have people that welcome me in and love me along the way. Like, Derb has been one of those people. He's always so loving and welcoming to me, and just always such a good cat, and just always, always a guy that, like, he ushered me into a different side of, the tattoo world to a degree by going to Hell City and, being around all these artists I've looked up to for so many years, and being able to, like, take seminars from them and do drink and draws with them and sit around and learn and listen and meet, just like Troy's been able to put me in a room with so many fucking artists I'm inspired by. So it's like so many of these dudes that have done these niceties, uh, by just making a show, but also by being personally kind to me. And, like, you look up to this person because they're a purveyor of fine arts in the tattoo world, right? And then they're kind to you. Then it's like, holy shit. Now I've got to learn how to be kind to others, because this is real. This exists.
But it also reminds you that art's about people. It's like it's something that brings everybody together. And tattooing, more than anything, is so personal, and the permanent stuff and everything. Like, you have to, like, kind of empathize with others, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that also, and that again requires vulnerability, because that's the thing you saw with some, like, I'm never gonna name names because why shade people, but there are some old timers you meet sometimes that are like, fuck you, I just don't want to know your backstory or anything. I'm just gonna put the stencil on you and finish out this shit, and then out the chair.
You pick it, I stick it. And it's like, yeah, that's cool if that's who you are, but, like, that's you're missing so much of the experience from the artist perspective, and you're robbing the client of so much of the experience from their perspective. It just doesn't make sense to be like that. But it's still a thing. And it's a thing that, every ass has a seat. There's a seat for every ass, and there's an ass for every seat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
that's a good saying as well, man.
And some people are into that, man. I prefer to get to know you a little better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I prefer it to be a date more than a business meeting. Like,
you're gonna wine and dine me if I ever get tattooed by you.
Yeah, bro, that's it. But we're gonna fall in love.
Like, man, I expect to see the best of Valora, man, if I get.
That's it. But yeah, dude, it's just more about, like, I want it to be more of an experience that we'll all remember in a positive way, rather than something that we all gutted through. Because, I mean, I'm taking a lot of your money and putting you through a lot of pain. Least I can do is be nice to you.
But also because, like, and now circling it back a bit again, but not on the artist. Well, I've researched, for example, tattoo regret for my master's degree, and the thing that impacts a lot of people the most, it doesn't even have to be a deep meaning, but the experience needs to be recognized by both the artist and the client. Like, you have to realize that this is permanent and it's going to impact you somehow, and people are going to look at you different, perhaps, or whatever. Like, the better the experience is with getting it done, the more likely you are to have a positive experience with the tattoo, and the more the artist is, like, embracing of, especially if it's your first tattoo, telling you, like, hey, are you sure about this, making sure they're sure about it, telling them how to care for it afterwards, or not to worry about if people look, you'll get used to it, like all that stuff. Like, it helps create somebody with more self-esteem about it, and it can actually have a more positive impact on their sense of self then.
Right. Like, well, it's like you can go to a restaurant and have a shitty meal from a great server and have an awesome experience, and that's the thing about tattooing. It's such an experience that if you take away the personality of that experience, it turns into a cold, rigid, scary, weird process, and that's why, like, and it's weird because, like, I've intuitively just been different, intuitively just wanted to give more to the client. And then, like, the more I become, into my own tribe in time, I find there's so many other dudes that do the same thing, and there's so many other artists that are like, yo, look, people can remember what you said and people can remember what you did, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you made them feel great, like, that's how I made it through the beginning of my career. I sucked. So like, it's a good thing I'm fucking charming. Otherwise, I would have fucked people over and they would have hated me forever.
Oh
You know?
man.
And like, dude, I've got some pretty pissed off people from back in the day when I wasn't so good. And I've had an alarmingly high number of people that wear my art from back in the day. And they still love it just because, you know, I made them feel seen, heard, welcomed, understood, recognized, loved, appreciated, you know, human. I made them feel human. Because, you know, nobody wants to buy a fucking broken TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I want to make you feel like, damn, I spent that money well. That was an investment. Or you don't even think about the money because it's not even about the money. Because my time costs the money. But the experience is what is priceless.
Absolutely, man. That's also how sometimes we almost become friends with people. Even if you know you're not friends after the two, you like have that kind of friendly, nice experience. And I think it benefits both the artist and the client. Like I've met artists that are like, man, I had this awesome client, man. It just made me fucking so excited. And he told me this cool shit about this thing. Like it's awesome when you meet artists that are like that, you know?
Bro, dude, you know what's wild? Like I'm writing my first book with a client of mine. And throughout our tattoo sessions, you know, we've learned and taught each other and grown together and separately. And like, we are recording the phone calls and she is transcribing and compiling into a palatable book format. And that came from tattooing for someone for like 20 years almost. Like, so, and it's cool because she's one of the first people I remember like having like metaphysical, like scientific, intellectual, and spiritual conversations all wrapped into one, you know? So like this many years later, you know, I'm writing a book and she's helping me put it together. So, you know, awesome, like, yeah, man, you know, I mean, I've fucking had severely real life situations with some of my clients that are just because we're all real people, you know, and it's such a great connection tool.
I think that helps with the like that can even help with the mental health of tattoo artists sometimes. Like if there's any advice I could give them, like the more real they are with their clients, sometimes it can even help them like talking through with them, like going through the shit. Because you go through the motions with them together and then work might not, when shit hits the fan, work might not be the enemy, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the Rad movement, you know, motivating others where, you know, living my life with an intention of being my best self and like being transparent and showing people the good sides and the bad sides, like that helps me so much in my own life. You know, teaching young tattooers how to tattoo makes my tattooing skills 10 times better because it brings me back to my fundamentals. It makes me pay attention to what's important and it makes me keep it simple, stupid. You know, which is like my biggest thing. I always want to keep it simple.
That's awesome, man. But that's also like, when you're not afraid of sharing your skills, that's also, again, how you improve and how you make somebody else's entrance into the whole tattoo industry way better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we didn't get that back in the day. You know, even though my dad taught me how to tattoo, you know, it was just my dad. It wasn't a welcoming industry. You know, so it was much nicer to help others come into it feeling more seen, more heard, more loved, more appreciated.
Definitely, man. But I think now we've mentioned it quite a few times. Do you want to explain to people what the Rad movement is exactly?
Okay, so I started the Rad movement. I mean, there it is behind my head. I started the Rad movement after I got off of Ink Master. I went into a really deep depression, a lot of imposter syndrome, feeling like a failure, even though like it was one of the greatest accomplishments of my career at that time, you know. So it was weird, and I was so miserable. I Googled how to be happy. And then I found a motivationalist called Brendan Burchard, who learned under Anthony Robbins. And so I was like, all right, cool. I dig Tony Robbins stuff, so I can dig this dude. And even furthermore, just the way he spoke just hit me hard. And he with a combination of a couple others that I was really paying attention to at the time, pulled me out of a really dark place just by like imbibing their YouTube content and podcast stuff. And then I realized that there needed to be a voice for the tattoo world. Yeah. That spoke the same language as the tattoo world, giving this same type of content. And, you know, really, I just intuitively used all my life experiences and the stuff that I'd been picking up to create, you know, a weird little happy, safe space of self-help for people who like the word fuck, you know, I mean, you know, because self-help is like a tainted, weird word, you know, it feels gross when you say I'm reading a self-help book, you know, but like, yo, I got this self-help book and this dude likes to say fuck a lot. There's like this way of like kind of making it so silly that, you know, it's not silly, and making it so real that it's not, you know.
But also makes it accessible.
Makes it accessible, exactly. And you don't feel like a fucking nerd being like, yes, I'd like your newest self-help servings, please.
Oi, nothing wrong with nerds talking to an academic here.
Right, and see, and that's like my old programming, you know, when I was a young kid, you know, nerd was a bad word, you know, like it was, you know, like, and now nerd's a cool thing. Yeah.
I mean, all of your clients are geeks and nerds, man. I mean,
dude,
there's so many cool like pop culture tattoos. If you like pop culture tattoos, you gotta check out Robbie if you haven't already. Because
Thank you.
Shit, man.
And it's funny because, like, you know, thinking, you know, that person that like that just isn't cool and just like isn't welcome and just is an outsider and is weak and is useless because they're going towards self-help, you know, and that's like. That's what I've always felt like self-help, you know, connotated was a weakness.
Yeah.
And then it saved my life, you know, because I was suicidal and I was like miserable to the point where I Googled how to be happy because I had no fucking where else to go in my brain. That's what I did. And so like how many other tattooers were feeling this way? But, you know, if I put out the content in a palatable fashion for a more, you know, just a more regular thing, like as I'm listening to Brendan Burchard, he's like, you know, if you want to be charitable, go give to your local church. Dude, I don't know very many tattooers I could say, go give to your local church to feel charitable. You know what I'm saying? So like, if I could be like, yo, part of being charitable is like giving your heart and your love in your tattoo sessions.
Like advice or comforting or
whatever. Your time and real attention. Yeah. You know, like, you know, that's a way to be charitable from my perspective. And I had to translate a lot of things that these guys were saying that I just didn't fucking understand because I didn't live in that world, you know?
Exactly. But that's why it's good, because I think the tattoo world could use like 100 guys like you.
Absolutely.
At least we need one on every fucking continent at the very least. Like,
dude, seriously. And for me to even accept that as reasonable praise, like, thank you, first off. I honor and acknowledge the fact that you say it, because it means a lot to me to know that the shit that I was embarrassed to do and embarrassed to put out is now being seen as stuff that people are like, yo, we need more of this.
Well, that's because, I mean, from my perspective, I've been looking at it like a semi-outsider, because, you know, I love tattoos. I've want way more than I have already, you know, just a arm and some chest and ribs and all that. But looking at it as a sociologist, psychology adjacent, you know, it's always been weird how there's a group that, like I've mentioned already, mainly the youngsters that are like, oh man, I feel bad and I want to be open about this. And then there's another group with youngsters and old timers and everything mixed in. They're like, no, we can't do that. Let's not be vulnerable. Let's just focus on the art and fuck the rest of it. So we need guys that open up this fucking box and are like, hey, we can be vulnerable and be good artists at the same time. We can help each other out, man, because nobody else will. There's nobody down the high street are going to be like, oh, what, you feel bad, but you're covered in tattoos. In some places in the world, they're not going to do that because they don't like people that are heavily tattooed. So we have to be there for each other.
Right. And we have to really humanize this lifestyle and help people realize, you know, just like, you know, skin color is a ridiculous thing to judge people on.
Agreed.
And, you know, here we are doing the same thing with tattoos, finding another reason to be prejudiced against a class of people, you know. But this is different because it's a choice, but still, like, it's a lifestyle choice. You don't look at somebody different because they paint their house pink. They're probably still a really rad person, you know. So it's very interesting that.
I like to say, just because a stigma is chosen and not given doesn't mean we shouldn't respect people and accept them for it. Like,
right, absolutely, because, you know, I mean, how many great people do you meet that do things that aren't the status quo? I've met some great strippers and prostitutes and drug dealers that were awesome fucking people.
At the same time?
Yeah, right. And so it's like it's really weird. The judging books by covers, man, that shit's gotta go. Because it's just, you know, and for me, I chose the road of TV, right? Like, so when I was given that opportunity, I ran with it and I cried on TV. Well, now I had to face being vulnerable on a global scale, right? So I feel like the ego breaking down like that was something I needed. You know, my ego needed to be broken down. I needed to, you know, cry in a room that was then televised across the world, to face the fact that I'm a human and it's okay to be vulnerable, and crying is safe and it's healthy and it's healing and it's beautiful. And a lot of tattooers in that fucking convention room are on the fucking brink of tears, or just fucking broke down into tears, or are going to when they get out of the fucking room that night.
Yeah,
you know,
because it's stressful and it's anxious and it's fucking, you know, man.
The general consciousness of the whole room, you feel that energy, man. You feel all these insecure artists trying to do their best and be their best and fucking shut out the fucking scary thoughts, you know. And really, if you're an empath, and if you're an artist, you're probably an empath. So you're gonna feel that whole room, you know, and it's diabolical at times, you know.
But even metaphysical stuff to the side, you need to process it instead of, you know, dismissing it. Like I think a lot of people shut it off, but instead it's way better. And that's why if you could go to another tattoo artist at the convention and like securely just be like, fuck, man, I just now feel the biggest bit of imposter syndrome right now, and I'm like having a panic attack. Can you help me out? And like, if you can then actually talk to somebody face to face, sit down with them, it might help somebody, you know, get through that.
Well, we do that all the time, and that's the cool part. Like, especially like putting out the Rad movement, and like going against my imposter syndrome and putting it out, and putting a fucking big logo that makes me feel like an imposter with my name, and, you know, like all that shit. This is old convention backdrop. Yeah. So like, you know, like, and now I've repurposed it to podcasting, but like, you know, like, this stuff has made me feel like such an imposter, but also is a beacon of light, because when the motherfuckers that have needed it and have seen me on the internet, when they come around and they see that fucking logo, they're like, holy shit, man, that's here. That energy is here. That caring is here. That healing is here. This person that's stepped into the role of the healer, and even though it's weird for him to do it, he stepped into the role as healer, and he's here. And he's here to help us. Because right now I need this, and this is the universe giving me this. Yay! You know, like, that's what it's for. And this is years fucking later, man. You know, years later, I gained the fruits of these fucking labors. I just put out the stuff that made me feel weird and kind of felt like an imposter the whole time. And now so many people have told me, hey, we love what you're doing here. I've been forced to believe it. You know?
I need that with my academics as well, man. Currently applying for a PhD, man.
Bro, and I'm 40, you know, and I'm just starting to see that I can do great things for people in this world.
It's fucking awesome.
I've been hearing it my whole life that I do great things with people and for people. But like, I'm finally learning that, like, it's okay to be a healer. It's okay to be a lover. It's okay to be a giver. It's okay also to be a badass on the other side of those things and protect the shit that you give and love. Yeah. So it's a very weird, contrasty, you know, cyclical, you know, multifaceted diamond, like weird thing, you know, like, it's just everything.
It's awesome, man.
It's hard to fucking navigate all that.
Absolutely, but it's worth it.
It is, and to be felt that you're not alone, that's amazing.
So speaking of that, to round off before we round the whole episode up, if you get any advice to young artists wanting to get into the field, what would it be?
You'll get there, motherfucker. Be patient.
That's good, man.
The times that my youngster teen, because I started my informal apprenticeship at 12, so I was like, my whole teenage years I was an aspiring tattooer, and then by the time I was 16 I was an actual tattooer.
Fucking hell.
So like, you know, like I have teenage tattooer inside of me, my little baby tattooer. The amount of times that little teenage tattooer, his mind is blown at the people that call me friend, at the things I'm invited to, at the opportunities and accolades I've been given, at the inspiration that I've given others, that people just pour into me and let me know that I inspire them. Dude, just shut the fuck up, do your job, and do your job well, and you'll get everything that's coming to you.
Mind yourself and your mental health first, and then
yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the journey, that's part of the patience.
Yeah.
Be patient with it. Like, be patient with yourself, be patient with your art, be patient with your business. You know, when you lose, fucking lose gracefully. When you fail forward. You know, like there's so much to be unpacked from that statement, you know, because
it's so well spoken.
You know, live your journey, motherfuckers, you know, like
I love that. I want that on a banner, man. Live your journey, motherfuckers. That should be, should be one of the new ones in the Rad Movement.
Dude, absolutely. You know,
there needs to be that. Live your journey, motherfuckers.
Live your journey, motherfuckers. Yeah, dude. It is really, it's true, because, you know, I'm 40, man, and my life passed by fast, you know, so, you know, my dad passed at 71. So, you know, statistically speaking, if I'm going to follow the same path that he's following, I've got less time here on this earth than I've already lived. So I better fucking hurry up with those years and live them properly.
Enjoy them,
yeah, really, like, live in my heart and in my peace and in my love, you know, rather than just trying to be as tough as I've always tried to be. Because, man, growing up a fat kid, you really want to be tough so people don't make fun of you for being soft.
Try being ginger.
Right. Same thing. You know, try being skinny, try being pretty, try having
both.
Right. Dude, you know, like I was just fat. So, and that was rough. And I identified as fat for so long, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to be more accepting, because I felt unaccepted for a very long time, you know.
So that's a beautiful mindset. Right. Robbie, to round us off a bit, do you have anything you want to plug for the people listening to this? Hopefully many people that will listen to this.
Absolutely. Please go to the Rad Movement on YouTube. I'm really trying to just develop a good following there for people to just that want to live their best lives, that, you know, love self-help, self-care, and also love the word fuck. You know, like it's about being real, it's about being honest, it's about being relatable. Look, motherfuckers, I've been there, and chances are I've been there means like I might have been there this morning. You know what I'm saying? Like I might have been there before I fucking got on this interview. I might have
constant battle, constant journey.
Yeah, man. You know, like there was this whole dream I had that I was always going to be able to like stop trying and just appreciate. But the thing is, you have to appreciate so you don't ever have to stop trying. You ain't got to, but you get to live this life, man. Yeah. You know, and when you change it to that, oh man, it's wild the things that can happen.
Man, that's beautiful. That's man, that almost has to be in your book, man. Fuck, you know, that was awesome.
And you know, and these type of things are, you know, all the stuff it's my brain, it's my heart, it's my soul. But thank you very much for that, man. I appreciate I used to always worry if I was going to be received well. I've gotten received well so many times now. I finally believe, hey, maybe I'm a good orator. Maybe I'm a good interviewee. Maybe I'm a good interviewer. Maybe I'm a good person. Maybe I actually am doing a good job at this shit.
I'll hassle a guess and say you're a pretty great person.
You know, and I appreciate that. And, you know, the only person that doesn't believe it more often than not is me. And, you know, that's another thing. If I had two advices to give, believe in yourself too. Believe in yourself while you're
That's
having
good as
patience,
well, yeah.
you know, because you will make it. You will. You always will.
Right, man, dude. To round it off fully, let's starting a tradition. This is gonna be the first episode probably. So, but we're gonna, me and Robbie are each gonna shout out somebody we think could use some more attention, perhaps, or deserves it at least. And I'd like to start out because I think it's the best thing to do, to shout out the guy that made my logo, which is my old tattoo artist, Thomas Locke, who it's hard to keep up sometimes with him, but I think he works in Copenhagen and maybe sometimes in Sweden right now. So he's Scandinavian local like me, but yeah, he's a cool guy. He did the logo for this show, and he's a great guy. He also tries, like Robbie, to pay it forward and be more positive. So it's an awesome thing to see, man.
Does he have a social media, like an Instagram account?
Yeah, I'm gonna link it in the episode and stuff like that.
Because I want to follow him as well.
Awesome, man. Love connecting people.
I love the connection that the internet can bring. Like, it's
definitely
really awesome.
Right, Robbie, have you thought of anybody?
I have. So I have a company that has supported me for many years. They're a tattoo machine company. Their name is Axys Rotary. I have grown such a deep love and respect for these people because the way they run their business is about quality and customer service. And they give a fuck about everything they make and every product that hits the market that they produce. And they've become very good personal friends of mine. And Dan, the owner, has one of the owners, he's become a friend and mentor type. He's helped me through some really weird brain times when I was trying to get the Rad Movement going. Very few people know this. He did everything he could to help me get into an RV from business to business standpoint, and working together to supporting the Rad Movement, because he believed so much. They, as a company, believed so much in what we were doing, because Gisela is a huge part as well. And like what they gave me in times of doubt as support, you know, just telling me I'm a great artist, telling me that they value me as a person on the team, you know, allowing me to test their products and be a part of that. And just always supporting me as a human, as a business. Just the admiration and respect that they give and the love that they give is second to none. So yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man. It sounds like a company right off your own mind, man. Like trying to spread some positivity and some love, man. Yeah,
man. They were the first ones that came to mind earlier, and that they kept popping up, and it's just great people. They've always done great, and they produce a great product, and they give a fuck. And you know, everybody it doesn't take you know, the smartest person to create a tattoo machine. There's a lot of fucking resources out there, but it takes a special person to make that tattoo machine feel special. And
definitely
that company, that culture that they cultivate, it's what you know, companies like that have made me model my business around them. So
that's awesome.
Hats off to great people.
Right, Robbie, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, man. Thank you for being the first guy on the deck, so to speak.
Yo, you've done a killer job. I wouldn't have guessed it was your first interview, so you're murdering it. So keep it up. And there's a reason why the universe brought us together. Your energy's sick. You're a rad person.
Cheers,
I'm glad to have met you, and I can't wait to do more in the future together.
Fuck, man. It sounds like we'll have Robbie back in the future. Right, guys, we'll be signing off now. Stay safe and get some great tattoos out there, man.